Today we are talking with Cyndi, aka Amazing Taste. Hey, Cyndi.
Hey, Jay.
So it has been, I think, a couple of years since we last talked to you. We recorded an interview with you, and I will link to that if people just want to go back. But I think you're pretty well known in the community among the scavengers.
I think it's been just over a couple of years now,
Yep.
and I still get messages from people from that very first interview. I heard
Okay.
you on Jay and Ryan, and I love that interview, and it's so much fun to get to interact with other people who like the same thing you do. It just happens to be you and Ryan that we that we have this common interest in you guys' lives, which is probably weird to you,
Yeah.
but the rest of us are in
Well,
it.
I mean, I think the reason why when we wanted to talk to you is, we love doing these mainly. It's kind of gives me a reason to learn. I get to because normally people might not want to talk to me and tell us their secrets, but this kind of gives us a platform to do that. And so, let me kind of say where we were back then, and then I think
Okay.
things have changed, and you can give us an
Yeah.
update. So back then, you guys were focusing mainly on clothes, and you guys sold a lot of clothes. And from what I understand, you guys, or I think you personally started the eBay business, but then you convinced your husband to quit his job and help you. You guys, are crazy full time doing it. You guys are sending your two kids to private school. It's with your income as well as paying for everything else. And we actually got to meet you in Chicago about a year ago. We had lunch, and
Mm-hmm.
I remember you telling me that your goal is to sell one item an hour, which is crazy. And I remember your phone was just like going off the entire time we were hanging out there. Questions, things selling, things need to get shipped. And when we did that interview, what came home to us was you guys really about volume,
Mm-hmm.
crazy volume, and that you don't have any employees at that time, that you do all of it yourself. And it's kind of just like that Midwest hard work mentality. You guys wake up and work all day and do
Mm-hmm.
it, and I love that story. It's not about building an empire. It was more about just like you guys were working together at time. It's with your family, and that's what I remember from that interview. So tell me if I'm
Yeah.
right, and then let's talk about anything that's changed.
Yeah. So I had started eBay probably 15 years ago now. And Matt was working a corporate position, at a big company and just huge commutes and tons of stress. And I was looking at having to hire an employee in order to grow and didn't really want to do that. And so I just said, quit your job, come home. Let's try it. You only live once and
No,
let's
no,
try it.
real quick, how did you, like, what was the actual moment where that flip? Was it like, you did a graph and showed him your income and how much you guys made? Like,
So, the beginning of the year that he quit, I was doing probably $3,000 a month gross. So, not a lot. I knew that he was miserable at his job, but we needed the income, we needed the insurance, whatever. And so I said, that was in January. And I said, by the end of the summer, if I can hit $10,000 gross revenue, so if I can triple my sales by myself by the end of the summer, will you quit? And of course, he was like, sure, yeah, great. You'll never do it. Like that's impossible. That's an impossible task. It'll never happen.
just old
And
clothes on the internet?
right, right. Like you can't, and that's an incredible growth trajectory. So I actually got with a small business consultant, went over all of my numbers, went over all of my processes. Where am I missing out? How can I grow that fast? By the end of the summer, I had done it. And so I said, this is just one person. If I can grow that much within, 6 months, then imagine what we could do together. And so he said, okay, I'll give it a shot. What's the worst that happens? You have to go back and get a different job. It wasn't like that was the only job in the world. And so he said, let's try it.
Yeah.
And we haven't looked back since. So
I always tell people who are thinking about quitting their job, and maybe they have a period where they would have to quit anyway, or they wanted to move on. I'm like, the worst that happens is if you get another job. If you're
yeah,
halfway, it's decent at that skill, you're gonna get a job. And it's no problem, but just give it a chance.
yeah, you might as well take the risk, take the jump, and never been happier. We
Now,
have never been happier.
now, real quick. So he wasn't on the, we didn't talk to him
No.
online, but we did talk to him at a lunchtime. It's like the silent partner. I mean, was there, because I'm always interested in this, being a man in America is about taking care of it's your family and having a
hmm
career and all this stuff. Was there
hmm
any problem for him to just go to like taking pictures of women's clothes and packing and doing that stuff?
I think that by that point we had talked about it so much. And I think for us, we looked at what are really your priorities in life? Is it that society says you're supposed to go and work a 9 to 5 and you're supposed to bring home a paycheck? Or is it that we have these 3 kids and they're growing up really fast and you're missing out? Is it that, we want time as a family? Is it that you don't want to be miserable every day when you get home from work? What's really a priority in your life? And if there's a better way then to fulfill those priorities, then why not do it?
I love that.
So,
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly, that's what we talked about when we had, when we ate together. It was like,
mhm.
it's kind of like if you can get through, like, cut out what we're told we should be doing and think about what you really want to do, and it's with your family and be with your wife or be with your husband, like that's what's important, then it's no big deal.
Yeah, just setting those goals, setting those priority lists, and then saying, okay, these are the goals for our lives. How do we get there?
And what do you, I mean, we're kind of rehashing some of the same stuff, but I'm always interested if it changes. I mean, have you guys evolved and what did you tell people, friends or family about life, about this eBay world?
I don't think so. I think, we just tell people that, we sell online. I actually think with every year that goes by, that becomes more and more acceptable.
Yep.
More and more people know e-commerce, understand that there's real money in e-commerce. And then, people are seeing us not losing our house. We're still here. Our kids are still well fed. So I think people are even more accepting of it now than they were certainly when I started. When I started a gajillion years ago, it was a scam. That's what I was told. That's all just a big scam and you're just stealing money from people.
I think this is the first time we've ever acknowledged this, and I think you're absolutely right. I think that selling online in the past even 18 months has become kind of an acceptable form of business. And I think, especially
Mm-hmm.
with Amazon, I think
Yes.
in the mainstream, there's a real understanding that there are people that just basically run wholesale businesses out of their homes, and it's great, and if anything, people are like, how do I do that?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of how do I do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas it used to be like, oh, you do that. Now it's how do I do that?
And the answer that we always give, and that has always been true, is that most people just don't care. Like, they're not even interested. Like, they ask what you do. Oh, I sell online. It's just like crickets. They're not interested in hearing about it, or they don't understand. And that's still true today in our world.
Yeah. I think I get a lot more, being on social media and that sort of thing, I get a lot more how do you do it with people that are genuinely interested. But yeah, in everyday life, the people I encounter, they're like, yeah, like I know that opportunity is there and I know that it's real, but I don't really want to do it. Doing what we do isn't easy. I often think in a lot of ways it would be easier to go to a 9 to 5 and then just shut it off on the weekends. There's pros and cons to both, but this isn't easy and it's a lot of hard work. And I don't think that a lot of people are willing to put in the Saturdays and the early mornings and the late nights and all of that.
I laugh because it's so true, because when I see people, especially like on a YouTube, they're talking about how easy it is and I'm making so much money, and I'm like, come on,
Right? No.
like forget about it. Like, you're probably working more, putting in more hours. But the thing is, it's your work and it's stuff we care about, so we want to put that work into it. And that's why I love talking to you guys, because at the time we talked a couple of like years ago. I mean, you guys were just the prototypical eBayers, like selling used clothes online. Like, that's what the first thing that most people go to, because it's the easiest thing to go find. But you guys it was incredible. It was just about volume.
Yeah.
And that's what most people can't do just because of time. And you guys have been able to kind of figure that out. Now, is that still true? Like, let's talk about how things are now.
A lot has changed for us since I did that interview. As eBay has grown, as that market has grown, as our kids have grown, and we have started to diversify. About a year ago, we decided that having all of our eggs in one basket wasn't necessarily a grand idea. Just kind of seeing all of the tech issues that we knew eBay was going to be going through this year. And unfortunately, rental property wasn't an option. So we had to come up with another way to diversify our income and have those multiple streams of income. So what do you do when you can't go and buy a farmhouse? Well, then you look at what you know. And we knew clothing. Like, I know clothing, know how to sell online. So we started looking at Etsy. We've moved into Etsy. We've moved into Poshmark with clothing, but then we've looked into and started moving towards more vintage items on Etsy, so more hard goods, that sort of thing. And then we've gone into, we've done some wholesale directly from China that we've got up on different accounts and working. We tried the Amazon thing. We laughed when Ryan said she hated Amazon because we were both going, we hate Amazon too. Decided that wasn't the way we wanted to go, but I am a part of their Merch by Amazon program for the print on demand with the t-shirts. So doing that, just working a lot of different than e-commerce angles, kind of take what you know and then spread that out a little bit. We've just hugely, hugely diversified and feel much more secure than in that income because it's not just coming from one place. So if eBay glitches out today, it's not as big of a deal because I know I've got income coming from other places.
So it sounds like, you do, we do them as well. We do an experiment. We're like, let's try something. So how do you guys go about kind of building the experiment and then testing it? And how do you know if it's doing it well and if you're going to keep doing it?
So I'm very analytical and, I'm very numbers based. And so when we started Etsy, I had a very defined timeline. I'm going to put this amount of time into it every day for 6 months. And then if it isn't producing this amount of money by the end of that 6 months, then that's not an option.
So tell us those exact numbers. How many hours a day and how much were you trying to get out of it?
So when we started Etsy, I didn't want to put more than an hour a day into it because 1 hour a day is an hour lost somewhere else. So an hour a day for 6 months. And at the end of that 6 months, it needed to be netting us $3,000 a month.
Wow.
And if it wasn't doing that, based on the fact that I knew within an hour, I could list 5 to 10 items. So even if I did 5, that's $150 a month. For 6 months, that is almost 900 items.
Yep.
And I actually didn't get quite that many listed. But I knew that at 900 items, I should easily be netting $3,000 a month.
Yep.
Because I knew that if I had put that into eBay, I would be blowing that number out of the water.
Yep.
But I also recognized that there would be a learning curve there. Anytime you step into a new product line, there's just a learning curve. And so I knew we were going to have duds. We were going to have stuff that we thought was cool that just wasn't. It was only cool to us. So I wanted to make that an attainable goal, but one that would allow for me to see that there was true potential there. We easily hit that $3,000 mark within 6 months. So then I knew, okay, that's a viable option.
Okay, so we've thought about, let's try, to sell over there as well, like on other places to sell clothes. My question is, so when you start to make $3,000 extra on Etsy, are you making less money on eBay because less time is going into that? I think that's my worry about that.
Yes. And so through the first 6 months, when I was only putting an hour a day into Etsy, our numbers on eBay were pretty consistent because it was only an hour a day and I could just afford to just lose that hour. Now that I see the potential within Etsy, I'm making less on eBay because I'm putting more into Etsy and I'm putting more into these other sites. But I hold that eBay number steady. I want to go in small enough to a test run that if it fails, I haven't lost any ground.
Right.
But once I know that it's going to work, I'm okay with the fact that my eBay numbers are less this month than they've been in years. Well, not maybe in years, but in a long time, because these tests over here worked.
So is it more about you're making about the same amount of income at the end of a month, but you're making the money in different places, so you're safer in case one place doesn't do well. I mean, is that the goal for you?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's exactly the goal.
Yeah.
And we then are looking at, okay, the margins on used clothing have just gone down within the last couple of years. It just is what it is.
I mean, because I think that's a big key. We've talked about this offline. Why do you think that is? Like, why?
Because I think clothing's a gateway drug.
Yeah, exactly.
I think when people come into e-commerce, doesn't matter where they end up, almost everybody starts in clothing.
Yep.
And this is what happens for everyone that starts. Not everyone finishes. Not everybody even moves on to something else. But they all have this clothing.
Yep.
And then, we see it this time of the year a lot because people have bought all this clothing in the summer because the buying part is fun. And so they buy it all, and now they're looking at, crud, I've got to have money for Christmas.
Yep.
Well, I have all this clothing. They start blowing it out, and you start seeing people give stuff away, which an individual person giving something away doesn't affect the market. But when you see a big influx of that, then it does. And so I think that's come into play. And I think that as places like Poshmark, Tradesy, Vinted, The Real, ThredUp, all of these other used clothing sites have come into play, those buyers now have more options. So your buyer pool, which used to be used clothing, everybody came to eBay. That's more diversified also. So that impacts it. So I think there's a lot of things that are impacting it as more and more people get into new clothing and wholesale and that sort of thing. The prices for new clothing, that's become more competitive. But the bottom line for us was the profit margins just aren't what they used to be. And that's okay. There's still a lot of money to be made there. I mean, don't think that our profit margins still, don't put the stock market to shame every day. But I didn't want to work harder.
Real quick, I totally agree with you there that there's still money to be made in clothes. Like, we stopped doing clothes for a while, and then we got back into it just because there is a money there, and mainly because it's so easy to find. I think a big difference as well as I think it's easier and more acceptable for just normal people to sell their own clothes. So they may not be running a business, but, especially like a woman that buys clothes, instead of her donating it, eBay and these other sites have made it so easy. Just snap a picture of it, throw it up. And they aren't really doing it to make a lot of cash. They'll sell things that might be worth $100 for $20, but that's one less thing that's, they'll buy from somebody else.
Yeah. So as those margins came down, you have two options then. You list more and work more hours so that you can make up that difference, or you find a way to raise that profit margin back up. So, okay, so how am I going to raise that? I don't want to work more hours. I'm already working a lot. So how am I going to raise that profit margin up? For us, that was Etsy. Etsy has a lower fee ratio. That was an easy switch for us. But I know a lot of people that have, taken this same step in a different way. They've gone to shoes. They've gone to, hard goods on eBay, which there's still just so much money in. It just depends on, what works best. This was just an interesting thing for us. And partially because for me, I'd done clothing for 15 years. I'm kind of sick of it. I kind of want to learn something new.
Sure.
That's the exciting thing.
Right. I mean, we always talk about like the big danger about any of this is that you build a sweatshop of your own.
Yeah.
And that's the real danger. So sometimes switching it up isn't just for a money or safety. It's also just for your sanity.
Yeah. And so being able to look at different sections of the thrift store and being able to find different things to get excited about, that's so much fun. I think it was what probably prompted all of this was last fall, so fall of 2016, we, of course, listened to you guys religiously, and I had found a old owl picture, and it was just in like a cheap plastic frame, but it was so cool. And I looked at Matt and I said, Jay and Ryan would buy this. And it was like $2. And so we bought it and sold it within like a week for, I don't know, $60 or $70. Wow. And the person was thrilled. And it just happened to be right before Halloween. And I'm sure that that's what they were going to use it as a decoration or whatever. But, that was so much fun because that was something that we had never done before. We had never even looked at the artwork. That whole section of the thrift store, we're just breezing right on by. And it was that light bulb moment of, wait a minute, we're walking by all this money here. Where are we leaving money on the table?
Yep.
And that was one of the big places.
So let's walk through the other things that you guys have been doing. So how big into hard goods have you guys gone? I mean, is it still a small portion? Because the thing about hard goods is storage. So that's
It's space. Yeah. And so we are still heavy on the clothing side because of space. But, we're finding things like jewelry or utensils or things that are smaller, belt buckles, things like that are technically hard goods, but that we can store a bunch of. You have to fit your life into what's going to happen here.
Sure.
Because I'm still unwilling to pay for storage space.
Yep.
I don't want to have to go to a storage unit every day. It's too cold here.
Yeah.
So how can we do that and make it work with what we have? And that's the great thing about e-commerce is there's always a way.
You guys have 3 kids. Your business is at your home. And
Yes.
I'm assuming you don't have a mansion of a home.
No, not at all.
Can you sketch out what the home is like? Is it like there's clothes in every nook and cranny? Is it just in the basement? Like, how does that work?
No basement. So we actually retrofitted our 2-car garage, sealed it off, the whole bit so that we could use that entire 2-car garage just for storage. Mm-hmm. So the vast majority of it is out there. But, any given day of the week, we turn our living room into a photography studio. And that's where the magic happens there. And then, we're still shipping from our kitchen table. And so we don't have, we've got inventory. I'm looking at inventory sitting underneath the TV because hard goods have to sit somewhere. Right. The clothing we can just, fold up and put in a bin and it's all good. But those breakables, they're a little trickier to figure out, okay, where can we store all this stuff?
I am looking right now. We have where our TV is, we have all these bookshelves around us and there are no books on it. It's just covered in glassware and little owls staring at me and knives. And, when people come over, they just must think we're the kookiest kind of people in the world,
Right?
But that's what you got to do,
Our decorating theme is now it's for sale on eBay.
Right.
Things that are for sale on eBay. So
now, what do the kids think? Because what they've been growing up, it's with this for the past 5 years. I mean, forever, their whole lives.
Yeah.
What do they think about it? And friends come over and that kind of thing.
It's such a part of their life that for them, they're just like, you know what? If you think it's weird, well then. I think the fact that your dad goes to work every day is weird. Yeah. So it's just a part of their life. Yeah. Now, when I used to now our mannequins kind of set off into a corner, but that's always a little bit weird. When you bring your friends over and there's a big, huge mannequin in the middle of the living room, that gets some interesting looks. But beyond that, they love the fact that we're home. They love the fact that if they want to go to a friend's house in the middle of summer on a Tuesday afternoon, sure. Mom and dad are here and we can take you. And, we do a lot of things like we'll just take a random Wednesday off and take the kids and go and do something. And they love that. So the benefits to them far outweigh any weird looks they get from their friends.
I mean, I can't imagine growing up because, I lived in the traditional kind of American home where my dad was gone by 7 in the morning. He'd be home, after 6. See him for an hour or two, go to bed, that was my childhood, and my relationship it's with my father has suffered because of that. And the ironic thing is what most men will say is, well, I did that for you, and it's like, well, but now we don't have a relationship because I don't know who you are, that kind of thing. So it's just so great to hear that you guys have been able to do that.
Yeah, and it's so much fun, now. Our oldest is in college, but he goes locally. And so he'll just stop by on a Tuesday afternoon. And we just stop working. If Kyle's coming over, it doesn't matter what day of the week it is or what time it is. We just drop everything. Yeah. And we get to just go and spend time with him and hang out. And, that's so much fun. And we would never have those opportunities if we had traditional jobs.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go through some of these more... the stuff that you guys have been evolving into. So let's talk about wholesale. Wholesale from China. I'm always about like that, so it's ridiculous. But and what do I know? So talk about an experiment and how it worked out for
You can buy direct from China through, Alibaba, AliExpress, lots of different websites. And they ship it directly to your house. It's always fun when the Chinese package arrives with all the Chinese characters. That's just cool to me.
For people that don't know, these are basically like, it's like an Amazon eBay site over there.
Yes.
And you just go there and did you buy them in pieces of 100 or more?
Yeah, a lot of places you can buy as few as one. And so if you go, AliExpress is like the mobile version of Alibaba. And so you can go, though, on and just look at, okay, I just want to test this. I want one to come in and see if it's junk or not, because there's a lot of junk. I mean, it's just cheap Chinese crap. And that's all that it is.
And people hearing this, I mean, it could be clothes, housewares, shoes, could be scientific instruments. I mean, it's just anything that you can imagine being made in a factory over there, right?
Yeah, you can get anything from, a hoverboard to a pair of gloves. So then you just order, and it takes, it depends on how big the order is, how long it takes, because an individual item take a couple of weeks to come, but really it's not that bad. And so we have tested lots of different products just to kind of see what's good, what's bad, what sells, what doesn't, what has margins, what doesn't. And that's part of the reason why we have multiple IDs at this point, because of you guys and Scavenger Life. My amazing taste store gets a lot of traffic,
Wow.
But it's not traffic that are people who want to buy anything from me. It's just people who watch. Yeah. And I always say I have no problem with that.
Right.
Like, that does not bother me in the least, because I do it to other people. So how could I be upset with somebody for doing it to me? But when I bring in these products, I really need to be able to see what's the traffic on that item, what kind of interaction does it get, what kind of conversion rate does it have. So we can't put it on my amazing taste ID because I can't know if those are real numbers or not.
You're just trying to find the organic, people who are coming to check it out. So we'll talk about Amazon, but you started with buying things from China and selling them on eBay.
Yeah, there's a big potential market there. And you kind of have to know how to, work the system and check products and all of that. But there's a big potential market there to bring those items in. You list it once and you sell it, just day after day after day after day after that same listing.
I mean, that's what the dream is, right? Like,
yeah.
I buy this one thing, I list it at one time, I buy 100 of them. It's selling. I just order more. It's just like, that's the dream. But I guess my question is, but since it's so easy and anyone can buy that same item, and like, what kind of profit margin are we talking about, and how long does that last? Because aren't there people who monitor that stuff, and they're like, oh, she's selling these coasters and she's making a good amount of cash. Yep, it's an Alibaba. I'll buy them. I put them up, and now I undercut her. Now it's a race to the bottom.
Of course. That happens in everything.
Sure.
If you guys go on your podcast tomorrow and say yellow pens are selling great for us, well, guess what? There's going to be 100 people tomorrow selling yellow pens.
Yep.
So that happens in any product. And so you have to be very careful about how deep you go in on any one particular item. Yep. Because, of course, somebody else is going to find out about it and they're going to undercut you, and then you have to move on from yellow pens. But the difference is, so the profit margin on an individual item is not as big as the profit margin on a sweater or something that I'm finding just a one-off of. But what we have done is taken our numbers from looking at an individual item to looking at the profit value of a listing. So if I want each item I list to gain me a profit of $20, then if this yellow pen makes me $1, but I sell 20 of them, then that listing made me $20. Does that make sense?
Yep, it does.
So that's kind of how we're looking at it. But, we've brought some stuff in, and then it was just total duds. And then, you're just out.
I don't want to make you, tell us what you sell, but give us an example of a profit margin. Are we talking about did you sell 100 a day at $1 a piece? Is it 5 a day at $20? What kind of?
Yeah, you're probably not going to find the $20 a piece margin over there. You're looking at margins of $1 to an item. on smaller items.
And
Now,
what's a successful experiment? Like there needs to be 10 a day? I mean, like how much a volume does it need to do for you?
so I want to be in and out of an item within 60 days.
Okay.
So meaning that if I bring in 50, I want 50 gone in 60 days. If I bring in 100, I want 100 gone in 60 days.
Yeah.
Because that 60-day mark seems to be when people pick up on it.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. And there's a website that I can't think off the top of my head what it's called. But you can look at the top performers within any individual listing, and Shelf Trend, I think is what it's called. And so then you can kind of get a gauge. You can go over to Terapeak. How many sell every day? How many does this seller sell every day? Because the chances are you're going to find a product that somebody else is already selling, and you're going to come in and undercut them. That's what we all do. So how many sell every day? What's my potential there? And then you kind of just run that math. And then you have to find a supplier that has a decent product.
And like I always tell people, it's all good. It's just a different way of doing its business, and it really just depends on where you want to put your time in. I always tell people it's still work, even if you aren't having to list individual items like clothes, like we do. Even if it's a one-time list, the thing is you're always having to monitor your items and get new items, because it's like you said, it's not like you can find a one thing and sell it for month after month after month. It sounds like, and from what I've read, you always have to be buying different kinds of items. So it's just a different world.
Yeah. It's just a different way of going at it, and a different way to make the money.
Yep.
And that's interesting to me to be able. I love to run the numbers. So I love to go into the analytics of a listing and look at the margins, and that's just fun to me. For whatever weird reason. So I enjoy that. So if I can do a little bit of that on the side, we still do the regular clothing also, just becomes another stream of income. I don't think that I would ever go full into that. Like, I think that's too risky for me and my Midwestern conservative behavior. But I know a lot of people who do.
Yeah. Being someone that knows the numbers and have kind of, done this, when you hear someone on a YouTube say, I grossed $1 million on Amazon it's this year, what do you think their actual profit is, like a money in their pocket? Like, you have any educated guess?
From what I understand, the average Amazon seller is their net income is about 10% of whatever their gross is.
Okay. So $1 million, about 100,000, which would be like a good eBay store.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so it's about the same. And the reason why, we tried that, the reason why I don't like that is that's a huge risk. So last fall we bought like golf tools, and I don't golf, so I don't even know what Matt knew. They were some sort of divot, something or other, I don't know. Anyway, they were a huge flop, just a tremendous, awful flop. They ended up going free with any guy who bought a sweater.
Wow.
But, I had probably 50 of them, and I had like $25 into them. So that's not a huge risk. If I want to sell $1 million on Amazon this year, the amount of money that I'm going to have to put in to get that $1 million out, that's huge money. I mean, you're talking major money.
That's my nightmare. I mean, I am also very risk averse. That's kind of why I love the eBay model, is that we spend so a little money up front that we do experiments all day long, and we never lose money. It seems like we always make money no matter what. It just depends on how much money we're actually going to make. When people talk about putting, $10,000 on their credit card to buy some order, that is so scary to me, because working on it your own, like, ooh, I couldn't sleep at night,
Yeah, the risk reward there, to me, it's just too high. Now, I know people who do it and they love it and it works for them, and that's great. Yeah, for me, I got to be able to sleep.
It's like a different personality. Like, I think there are some people who are really into that kind of thing. It's kind of like investing in the stock market or gambling, and they're really big players. I'm like, I'm not a player. I just want my money and cook my food and like sleep well. That's
exactly. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. When we were in Vegas, we played the penny slots
yeah,
because I was like, this right here, this is my game.
that's right. So talk about Amazon specifically. I mean, buying that stuff on Alibaba and selling on eBay is cool, but it
Yes.
seems like most people then go right to Amazon. Like, what was I don't know, how did Amazon treat you?
We, ran the Amazon experiment and tried it with the retail arbitrage, like most people do. You buy stuff online or whatever, bring it in, send it in, whatever. The fees, the returns, the storage, all of that, the, monitoring, okay, somebody else is undercutting your price today. That it was just too much for me because I like the profits on eBay. I like the profits on Etsy. I like the profits on Poshmark. There are so many other things that I was already doing and were already panning out that experiment, it was like, you know what? I just went out. I just went out. It's too much money. I feel like Amazon's holding all of my money then. And if they decide they don't like me tomorrow, they have all of my money too. I mean, if eBay decides tomorrow that they don't like me, well, all of my inventory is in my garage. At least I still have all of my stuff. I can sell it somewhere else. If Amazon decides they don't like me tomorrow, they have all of my stuff.
Yeah.
I couldn't get past that. And that's just a personal thing.
Yeah.
Like I said, I know lots of people who make lots of money over there and swear by it. It's just a personal thing. I don't like it.
Have you, or did you know, even just online, of someone that has sold on Amazon for 5+, for a long time and has consistently done well and loves it? I feel like I've seen people that do well and then I don't see them anymore. And I don't know if they've just chosen as not to be online anymore talking about it, or if, they did well for 6 months and then it didn't work out well for them. Like, I'm looking for consistency.
I think that there are people. I think that by the time you get to that place, I mean, now you're talking a warehouse and you're talking multiple employees and you're talking, negotiating large wholesale deals and that sort of thing. So then you're probably just not hearing a lot from them.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I would say that group is probably very, very, very small.
Right. I mean, are there people who do you think consistently do well on Amazon at the level like us two do, where it's a home business, you're making $100,000 a year on a consistent basis. It's not a lot of employees, if any. Like, is that common on Amazon, you think?
I don't think that's as common, and maybe it's just because Amazon attracts a different kind of person. So the kind of person who wants to do that is going for the empire. Like, they want the warehouse. They want the employees. They like that idea.
It's like, it's go big or get out kind of thing.
Yeah. And so they just continually grow. Whereas you guys and us, we're more of the, I want to be comfortable. I want to make a good living, but I don't necessarily need an empire.
Right.
So I think it's just a different personality.
Yeah, totally. No. I just I haven't talked to anyone in a while that has dabbled in Amazon that has this kind of insight. So I was just curious about the state of Amazon sales, because I see a lot of people getting back into eBay. Like, we get a lot of people email us say, I was selling on Amazon and now I'm back to eBay just because of XYZ.
Yeah. Well, there's been a lot of changes within Amazon, even within the last year, in how they gate people or ungate people, brands that were ungated that are now gated, that you can't sell anymore, the long-term storage fees, all of that.
Yeah.
And so if you were running on tight margins, that becomes really, really risky. And again, now you're having to pay to have all your stuff sent back, which is cutting into your margins more. It's just a different risk.
So we've gone through a lot of experience. Any other experiments that you guys have tried out, or any new business kind of things that you guys have added? Go for it.
So don't like Amazon FBA, but I am liking Merch by Amazon. Merch by Amazon is their print on demand. I hold no inventory. I have no upfront cost. That's my kind of business. So you just design the t-shirt, you put it up on Amazon, they sell it.
Now, are you doing it on your own, like in Photoshop, or do they have a studio that does it for you? Or?
So I've actually been on Merch since they opened, like over a year ago. And merch is fairly hard to get into right now. You have to submit a request and wait and whatever. But when I first got in, yes, you had to do it like in Photoshop or whatever. And so I think we put up 4 or 5 t-shirts, 4 or 5 designs, and then we were like, this is too much time. But this fall, I have a friend who was like, okay, there's a new app for your phone called Over. You can design these shirts directly on your phone, upload them, 10 minutes. I'm like, all right, now you're talking something that I'm willing to do the experiment on, because my experiment is it can't take me more than an hour. If it takes me more than an hour to test something, then I'm not going to test it, because the risk to the businesses that I have going that I know make me money is just too great.
Right.
So for an hour, I'll give it to merch. And I'm seeing a lot of potential there. On Black Friday, I think we sold 20 t-shirts. The margins there aren't great.
Like what?
Like so you go in on a shirt and like maybe you're making $2 or $3 a shirt.
Yeah.
So the margins aren't great.
Right. So people pay like $20, and then after everything's done,
you get a couple bucks. So the margins aren't fantastic. But if I can make that design once,
yeah, right,
sell it 20 times every month for the next year, now that becomes a good deal.
Those are the kind of experiments that we love. It's almost like, we'll buy pipes or something, like smoking pipes. We'll buy 12 of them. We'll sell 1 a month for a year. It's not a lot, but I always say, well, that just paid our internet bill for a year.
Right. Yeah, so I really didn't even start putting my hour a day in until probably the end of September. And in November, we will have profits over $100. So in 5 weeks, that's not bad. Yeah. So there's a definite then growth potential there. If I give it my 6-month window, I don't know that I'll be at $3,000 profit, but I also won't be putting in the amount of time. Like I probably am only spending 20 minutes a day on it. So
that's about as close to passive income as you could actually get if you actually got it,
Yeah.
in gear.
Yeah. And that's why I like it, because you can go on vacation and stuff sells and I don't have to come home and ship anything. You just come home to the money. Yeah. I like that idea.
Yeah, that's an Amazon dream, right? That was when we probably had a couple of good months on Amazon when we first started, and that's how it felt, we were making over $1,000 a month, and it would just come, and we wouldn't have to ship, and it was just packing boxes up. But
yeah. So I'm liking that. We also have dove into Poshmark, which Poshmark is, they have a website now, but it's mostly an app for clothing. It's just clothing sales.
Yep.
They're only US based right now, and there's incredible potential there also.
And that's mainly, and tell me if I'm wrong, kind of higher end clothes? Is that what does well over there?
No, it's in fact, probably the opposite for us. Really? It's a younger market, so the buyer over there isn't our high end, like let's say our men's high end dress shirts. They're never going to sell on Poshmark because that 22-year-old kid, he does not want a dress shirt. He's trying to get a job where he never has to wear that. Yeah. But if you have, just a Ralph Lauren shirt or something, then that probably does better over there because that's a brand he knows, that's a brand he understands, whatever. And there's not as much competition there. So that's been interesting. It is a lot of work time-wise, and I haven't hacked that. I haven't hacked my time ratio enough on it. But if we work it every day and I'm listing, on average like 10 items a day, then I'm easily making a couple $1,000s a month over there.
Yeah, wow.
And that's just another then avenue, another stream of income. We tried out Tradesy and Vinted. Neither one of them seemed to have the traffic that Poshmark does. Poshmark seems to be kind of where that next generation is going for clothing.
Now, because you guys are in a big urban area, I always feel like it's Craigslist and some of these other sites that help you deal with, bigger, large items, and you deal directly with people and there's no fees or anything. Is that anything you guys do?
You know what? We've never done that just for security issues. Yeah. Because we live in an urban area. Yeah. I really don't want people coming to my house. Yep. So we've never done that. And we don't have space to store sofas or dressers or desks.
Right.
So even if I was willing to sell them on Craigslist,
Yeah,
I'd have to just be sitting in the front lawn.
that's true.
And the homeowners association really kind of frowns upon.
Sure, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Okay, so any other like new experiments you guys been trying? If you
Um,
were mentioning a little bit about the coaching or the teaching, is that something you've
yes, which I fully blame on the two of you.
really?
Oh yeah, totally blame you guys. So whenever I did that initial interview with you guys, I got a lot of questions and a lot of people that, just needed some help.
Yep.
Just needed some basic, what am I missing here? And what I realized was all of that information that I had gotten from that small business coach years ago was the information that these people needed. It got to a place where I was spending so much time on the phone with other people just for free, just helping people go over their time, that sort of thing. It was really affecting our business. And so I'm pretty heavily invested over on Instagram. So I finally just said, hey guys, if I call up this small business consultant again and I get him to help me write up sheets on the health of your business, how do you look at your key performance indicators? How do you, all of that kind of stuff? Then would you pay me to talk to you about it, walk through it with you so that I can offset that cost? And it was overwhelming, the response. So, I kind of just made that one post and it's just kind of grown from there. I don't really push it a lot.
So everything's just kind of done on the phone, and they just PayPal you X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And it's so cool.
I think
it's
that time.
So cool.
I mean, I think people should get paid for their time for sure. I know we get a lot of questions, and I do very short blurbs, but I don't really. I always make very clear, like I'm not a teacher. We do podcasts, and that's about it. So if you're willing to actually sit down and look at people's store and give them advice, I think you should get paid for sure.
Yeah, but it's so cool. It's so cool to be able to talk to people and then get the messages, like a month later, I've doubled my sales.
Wow.
I'm going to be able to quit my job. Those kinds of things. That's so, so cool. And I can't tell you, though, how many people then have come to me and said, I've been waiting for you to do this since the original Scavenger Life interview. So, yes, and I totally blame you guys for the fact that I'm on social media to begin with.
Hey.
Because I hadn't done anything before that original interview, and you guys kind of outed me.
Well, people, that was a time when we would just like ask people who they wanted to hear from, and I know that's how we heard about you. Someone said, "There's this lady, amazing
There's
taste."
This crazy lady.
I love that name, amazing taste. I love people. It's a very common question we get emailed. Does it matter what my eBay name is? I had one in 1999 and it's some weird name. Don't I need to have it be like I Sell Clothes LLC? I'm like, nobody cares what your name is. In my opinion.
And it's so funny because when I got Amazing Taste, that was like my third ID or whatever, and I really thought it was going to be like I was going to do this marketing thing. Like if you bought from me, then other people would say you had amazing taste.
Yeah.
And it flipped, and people were like, you have, and I'm like, no, that's not what it meant. That's not what it meant at all.
I don't have amazing taste. You have amazing taste.
No. Yeah. So, but now it's just stuck. So
I want to kind of wrap up with this. It's a question. I think you'd be a good person to ask. So ever since we've been on eBay, full time, 2008, every year there is a group of people who always say, this is the year that eBay fails. This is it. All these other things are going to happen. Good luck to you guys. You guys are on a sinking ship. And I'm always like, okay. I mean, I don't know. It seems all right to me. I don't have any like emotional love of eBay. It's a great place. It's where we sell most of our stuff. It seems to work. I'm in. What do you think? Like, why do you think eBay it would ever fail? Or are you afraid it will fail? I mean,
I have to say, of all the things that keep me up at night, eBay failing is not one of them.
Yeah.
I don't think that eBay's going anywhere anytime soon. 10 years from now, maybe virtual reality becomes huge and there's some new player on the marketplace here that allows you to shop virtually, and eBay doesn't adapt to that quickly enough, and so then they fail. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. eBay's making a lot of changes, and I know that people are concerned about them. I know that a lot of those changes have caused a slowing of sales for a lot of people this fall. But you have to remember that eBay's making these changes for a reason.
Right.
And so, yes, you may have slowed down a little bit this fall, but if you can hold out through the fall, through this season, which frankly, Q4 is never our greatest season ever, so I was fine with that, then what do those changes bring? Things like guaranteed delivery, things like image search, those are things that are going to bring in more buyers. So that helps us all. And yes, there's some glitches that come when they implement that.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
It just is what it is.
Yeah.
Anytime you insert, I was talking last night on Instagram, we have to remember that eBay was built in 1995.
Yep.
And when you try to insert 2017 tech onto a 1999 foundation, you're going to have problems here, guys.
Yeah, I mean,
it just is what it is.
Trying to switch out the, engine on a plane while it's flying. That's the way it seems to work. And it was always, that 6 months to a year that we were on Amazon, it was very interesting that was the first time we went big into any other platform. And you know what? Amazon had just as many issues and quirks and weird stuff. There's on the boards over there, there's all the doom and gloomers over there as well. And it's just, it's just the way it is. And I think people have this dream of there's going to be this one site that's going to come along that's so awesome. There's never any problems. They're always for the person that sells. We make so much money. They don't take any fees. It's like this fantasy. I'm like, good luck. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening.
Every day I see the same thing about Etsy.
Yep.
People complaining that they're being throttled. The throttle on Etsy. Right. And I often think, or I see it on Poshmark. Poshmark implemented a new Posh Ambassador program. And so then people were like, this is, now they're throttling my sales and, da, 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 da. And I always think you could just transpose the words Poshmark, Etsy, Amazon. It's all the same complaint. But all of those sites are going to have downtimes. And that's part of the reason why then we diversified was you have to expect that.
Seriously.
You have to know that you're going to have downtimes. And so just like you guys diversified into rental properties so that, you've got multiple streams of income, then you're just safer. So, but I see, Poshmark just got a big influx of money, and it sounds like they will be going international soon. They'll probably open up, I would guess, this is just purely me guessing, that they would go Canada. But what's going to happen when they do that? Well, guess what? There's going to be site glitches. Yeah. Things aren't going to work. There's going to be a downturn in sales. That's just going to happen. You have to expect it.
Yeah, and I only bring this up just so anyone new hearing this or someone that has a store is just if you start hanging out with the people that are just finding a reason why their store is failing and they're blaming it on whatever site they're on, I just think they're just needing an excuse to why their business isn't good. Instead focus on putting in a couple more hours, list more, check out at your photos, check out at your titles. But anytime spent complaining about the platform seems fruitless to me.
I agree completely. I always say, go type in the word large on eBay and just search solds from yesterday. See all the things that sold with the word large in the title? Clearly somebody's buying something. All of those things are selling. Buyers are still there.
Yeah.
And so maybe we do have to make changes to how we list, or, we've become very, very deliberate in how we list, what we list, when we list, all of those kinds of things. It's not like it's impossible. It's not like the buyers aren't there. It's not that eBay's failing. It's not that eBay's going under. I still think there is a boatload of money to be made on eBay. We've only scratched the surface of how much money is going to be made by people on eBay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing that I always have to tell myself when I do worry about oh my God, I used to be able to sell a trucker hat for $30 all day long, and now everyone's in 15, and I can't do that. And I'm like, well, you know what? That's just the way it is, influx. But you know what? Those people are going to finally die out. We'll still be there. The market will come back. I mean, I don't know. And then you just find something else to sell. It's just the way it is. But if I just focused
Exactly.
on that, then I'd lose so much sleep.
And because trucker hats no longer sell for $30, you were forced to look at other things
Yep.
and you were forced to learn other items. So, what have you learned now that you didn't know before that you're making money off of? And if trucker hats come back in 2 years, 3 years, whatever, guess what? You still have all this other knowledge now, too.
Sure. Exactly.
So it's only benefited you.
Yep.
You can look at it like, okay, these, and we see it all day long. These sweaters that I used to sell for $20 to $30 all day long, I can't give away anymore. Like I could offer to come to your house and make you dinner and I can't sell them. And so, I can look at that one product and be like, this is awful. And if all that I sold was that one product, yeah, I'd be skunked.
Yeah.
Or I can look at, okay, well, I can't sell that product anymore, but there's all of these products that I could be selling.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll just go sell all those. I don't really care.
With the future of online selling, the question I have is there ever going to be a point where just, I don't know, like, I mean, I guess America has so much stuff in it. There's so much abundance. Will there ever be a time where people just stop donating because everyone's just listing all their own stuff?
Probably not, but I do think that there's a big potential in buying off of eBay to sell back on eBay. Because or buying off of Poshmark to sell on Poshmark or in eBay or wherever. I'm seeing lots more people buy on eBay to sell on Amazon. Because it has gotten so easy to list items, you are seeing more, what I call hobby sellers. People are just selling stuff out of their own closet. They're not looking to get top dollar for it.
They're happy to make $5,
Yeah, they're happy to make their $5 and move on. Well, that's great. They're happy with their $5, and I'm happy to buy it from them for $5 and sell it for $50.
It's something we haven't really talked about on the podcast. That's actually something we have been doing in the past 6 months or so. There are people we follow where we basically grab stuff. Yeah, $5, $10 a piece. Something we know we could sell for $100. It's just going to take a year for it to sell, and we don't mind that kind of time frame. But
right.
Yeah, and that's been doing well.
Yeah,
it's for us,
Yeah, and so just like we've all had to move on from trucker hats, maybe there comes a time when we're shopping less at thrift stores and shopping more online.
Yep.
And, but I'm good with that too. That's extra time in my pocket that I don't have to go and schlep through the thrift store. So, I can do that from home while I watch a football game.
Yeah.
So, that's okay too. So we think it all changes. But those people who don't want it to change,
right,
who want it to be the same as it was 5 years ago, it's just not the same. And it's never going to be the same. It's never going to be like that again. So we can either embrace where we're going or be upset about that.
I mean, it's like you said, I think the big difference is, or the big strength is, if you're always willing to learn about new things to sell, that knowledge never goes away. So the things I know now in 8 years is incredible. And so, it really is a good feeling to be able to walk to a flea market and be able to walk down those rows and just see everything and know the value of so much of that stuff.
Yeah.
And see so much stuff I don't know about and be like, wow, it seems almost endless.
Yeah.
About all the things I can learn about. And as long as I'm willing to learn, I know I'll never have to work for anybody else ever again.
You guys did an interview a long time ago with Mr. Customer Service.
Yeah,
do you remember?
Right, yeah.
He said something that has stuck with me all these years. He said that the only way to give yourself a raise here was to learn a new item. Yep. Every time you learn a new item, you give yourself a raise.
Yep.
That has stuck with me all of these years, that if I want to make more money, if, my sales are down or we're not making the amount of money that I want to be making, then I need a raise. Well, I don't have a boss that I can go and ask for a raise. I have to learn a new item. And how cool is that? How cool is that we just get to go out and say, you know what, I'm going to learn about dishes, or I'm going to learn about artwork, or I'm going to learn about, whatever. And there's your raise.
And we do talk about like the emotional aspects of eBay. I feel that it exists. I know it exists. It's for us. And we live on those highs of eBay.
Of course.
That is finding something that everyone thinks is junk, that I thought it was junk, and learning it's not junk and selling it for a profit. That is so, it's like finding something brand I knew,
Uh-huh. It's like a drug, isn't it?
It's
Like,
seriously like a drug. That's why that whole Amazon thing just it doesn't feed into that high that I'm looking for.
right?
Because I don't want to find just one thing and sell it over and over again. I want to keep finding different things, you know?
Yeah. It doesn't feed our drug addiction. I get
It
it.
is.
I get it.
It totally is. Yeah.
Yeah, we're a bunch of addicts over here with our treasures, with our
Yeah.
used
You know what it
old
is?
junk.
I'm a freedom addict is what I am. So put that
Yeah.
on a t-shirt.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go.
Okay, well, thanks for talking it with us today. And,
Absolutely.
we'll have to do this again in another couple of years and see if eBay's still around, if it's, if it's
Yeah, I'm pretty
failed.
sure it will be.
Yeah. All right.
Pretty sure.
Okay. See ya.
Bye.